Alright, and just another thing I wanted to touch on. I was watching some videos, and there is, you might say, you know what, I think violence actually creates. I've heard a lot of these videos where people say, you know what, violence actually does create peace. Let's say an army comes in and creates peace in a region or in an area. And yes, that can happen. What we're trying to say is that order is always something desirable, but what kind of order do we want? And I've touched on this before. What kind of order do we want in society? Do you want an order that is superficial, based on fear and violence? Or do we want an order that is real, that stems from the spirit of each human being, from the choices of each human being? And I always reiterate this, but it's the truth. We can tell how developed our societies are by just asking this simple question: if the military and if the police and if all of our institutions of protection and all of our police forces and military forces, if they didn't exist for a week, for a month, all of a sudden they were decommissioned, what would happen? And the answer is always, that it would be chaos. It would just be, there would be chaos. Order would be gone. People would be crazy. It would be the end of civilization. Now, how can that be? How can that be in our civilization? And the answer is because we haven't evolved. We haven't evolved. We don't know how to. We're still like kids emotionally. We're still like kids because we're governed by fear, by a fear-based system, which doesn't allow growth and development. If a fear-based system will never allow growth and development of its people. And the reason why is because fear creates victims. Fear creates people who don't take responsibility. And when you don't take responsibility, you don't develop. You think your life is not yours, and you don't develop. And so we want to develop a society. We want to bring the kingdom of earth. We want to bring the kingdom of God to earth. That's our objective. That's why we're here. That's all of our common objectives, which can be seen in our individual objectives, which everyone's individual objective is to be free and to love. The individual freedom and the communal love. We all want that. We all need that innately. We all need that. That's what we're children of love and of freedom and of free choice. And so, given our innate nature, our destiny is already written for us. And our destiny is to bring the kingdom of God to earth. But how do we do that? How do we bring the kingdom of God to earth? People have to develop. It cannot be a fear-based system. And you might have order. And yes, armies will create order in many areas. Police forces will create order in many places. Strong military regiments might create order in many countries. And there will be no crime, and there will be order. But will there be development? Will there be spiritual development of the people as a whole, as a culture? And the answer is no. Culture will be stagnation. There will be stagnation in the culture. The culture will be stagnated. It'll remain in fear, and it will never grow. And it's always going to feel like it's a victim of the system, and it's always going to remain that state of victimship, victimhood. I don't know if that's a real word, but you know what I mean. Until that fear is removed and that violence is removed. It's kind of being in a cage. Once you're taken out of a cage, you know, what happens when you're first taken out of a cage? A dog or anyone. They go crazy, right? They start just doing everything they couldn't do before in the cage. But once that wears off, and they realize that they are free, that they're not in a cage, then they start to gain consciousness, and they start to see that their actions are there's actual repercussions, and there's negative consequences to their actions. And they start gaining responsibility, and they start realizing what's going on. But as soon as they're back in the cage, they stop growing again. So we can't keep people in cages. We can't do that. We can't imprison people for long periods of time in these crazy prisons that we have that make people worse and worse and worse, and they go in and they come out worse. Can't do that. It's not doing anything good. It's not sustainable. And so once we develop the consciousness of this, which we are as a global culture, now we're growing as a global culture, no longer as a national culture, or no longer as the United States becoming one as a culture, but we're becoming a global culture. All countries are becoming one consciousness, and the internet's part of that. It's that there's free information, there's free flowing information that we hope is going to continue. But with this free flowing information, there's a unity that's being created. And for first time, we're becoming one global civilization, one global culture. And as we do that, anyway, that's the main premise. It's only light can bring light. Darkness will always lead to more darkness. It's very simple. It's not complicated. You can talk about it in complex ways, but the basic idea is, if you want light, you have to be the light. And so the more you are the light, the more light you will create. And the more light will surround us. But you cannot create light out of darkness by forcing it. And so make that choice. Can't serve two masters. So let's serve the light. And let's serve it all. Let's go all the way. Ideologically, let's go all the way. It's very simple. You're either light or dark. Once you try to say, oh, it's all gray area, then that's when things get fuzzy. So anyway, y'all, I think I'm ranting too much. I'll see ya.